Hey, Screaming Geek Media here. I'm Jerry the Geek. Today I'm going to talk about the heart and soul of my home theater, my remote control. But before we do, if you like home video, 4Ks, Blu-rays, anything home theater related, movies in general, please check out my other videos and like and subscribe and turn your bell notifications on. Now, when I first started my channel, I did a video showing my home theater setup, kind of simple. Of course, one of my early videos didn't know what the hell I was doing, but it worked. But one thing I forgot to show was my remote control. This is a Marantz RC-2000. It's actually a universal learning remote, and the difference between regular universal and learning is, you know, a standard universal remotes, you have to punch in a code for an individual manufacturer of your components, and usually it's a crapshoot when it comes to codes. You know, a lot of times they'll give multiple codes, and you're lucky to find one or two that actually works. And if they do, the problem is you'll be lucky to get just the basic functions of that remote. A lot of times, a lot of functions will not work. You know, I've had a couple, you know, universal remotes before I had this one, and yeah, it was you know, it had a lot of limitations. Sure, it was easy to use for a general consumer. Universal remote's great because you know, if you get the code to work, you got your basic functions. That's it. We're home theater enthusiasts. We want to do more. So a remote like this, it's being a learning remote, you individually program every single button, which, you know, it's very time consuming, but once it's done, it's great. What it does is you got your regular transmitter up on top like a normal remote, and then on the bottom actually has a receiver. And when you go to program it, you'll just, you know, hold this up on top of your regular remote, and you press a corresponding, you know, button on that remote, and then you press the button here, and it actually steals the signal and stores it in there. Now, this I've had for probably 20 years or so. This actually came out before DVD because it doesn't have a DVD source button, which in a minute I'll go into much detail about some of all the functions and buttons. But yeah, when this came out, this was sold originally for about 250 bucks. I bought mine on eBay used for about $75. Again, I don't remember exactly when I bought it. But yeah, this has been my baby since. I remember my early days, one of my friends would come over and do movie days. He would tease me saying, yeah, he reminds me of a phone and I'd probably use it sometime. And sure enough, one time my home phone went off, and I picked this up to answer it, and oh, this is a remote, it's not my phone. He got a big kick out of that and never let me live that down. Yeah, some people might find this bulky, but if you're a home theater enthusiast and you want something to control all your stuff, you know, this works great. Now, the only downside with this is because of how old it is. Some newer stuff, they've changed the technologies, and newer IR codes may not work with this. When I first got a Roku streaming device, the remote would not work with this. It would not learn the Roku remote. I think newer Harman Kardon receivers, these learning remotes won't work with. Also, the Amazon Fire Stick remote, I can't program this for. So unfortunately, instead of using one remote, I am stuck with three, because since I have nothing to learn the Amazon Fire Stick and Roku, I do need to shop around, see what's out there, and, you know, see if there is something that will learn those. That's one thing I've been out of date with. I've liked this so much, I've dealt with it. This even worked with my cable DVR box when we had one. I programmed it to run that. Our cable company shit canned the DVRs in favor of an app on our Amazon Fire Stick. So let's jump behind the camera, and I will show you a little close-up of some of the functions and the details of this remote. Take a good look at my remote control, the Marantz RC-2000. And for starters, you know, up top we have the main power on and off. and then the source power button. And here we'll take a look at the source buttons. It controls a total of 10 sources. Yeah, DVD is not on there. You know, we have auxiliary, amp, tape 2, tape 1, CD, tuner, LD, TV, VCR 1, VCR 2, DSS, and for a cable, and of course your volume buttons works no matter what. And then you got your numerical pad, memory, clear, and of course you can see these buttons are warn, your play, pause, stop, my scan, my chapters, on-screen display, your guide button, mute button, your navigation buttons. All these can be individually programmed for each individual source. So that's a lot, you know, that's all your basic functions. Now the downside to having newer things like a Blu-ray, you know, DVD, Blu-ray, or 4K, I have to, you know, substitute. So this is my 4K Blu-ray, so when I hit this, you'll see, kind of hard to see, it says 4K Ultra HD up here, Sony X700, so where you actually can put all that information in there. And also for each source, we have these specialty buttons, 1 to 4 over here, 5 to 8 over here. You can program additional functions that aren't included on these below. So here, while I'm watching a 4K, I can switch from a standard audio to 7-channel. I can do the subtitles, pop-up menu, input, Netflix options, pop-up menu. But that's not all. That's the first page. You'll see at the bottom there's a 1, 2, 3, 4. And I can navigate. I can have 4 pages of these. So up here alone I can do 32 functions for each source. And afterward you come in, you can actually do all the letters, and you put all that in individually so you know what they stand for. So if there are 32 functions there and all these down here for each source, that is a lot of capacity, what you can do with this thing. This is my main one I use for my Roku TV. This used to be my HDMI switcher, so it actually says HDMI switcher, but I don't have that anymore. Since I eliminated that, I was able to, you know, got the Roku TV, so it made things much easier. So anything from my Roku TV, you know, it goes through my auxiliary, and of course I don't use that anymore. VCR. Now my LD, I don't have a laser disc hooked up, so this I actually use from my PS2. So up there it actually says Sony PS2. And my controls, my tape 2 is actually my HD DVD player. And then to top everything off, we have actually macros. I have 4 macro buttons, which allows you, I think you can program up to 10 steps per macro. I think I used it once years ago, but since then I haven't used them. But when you want to program, you have to use a sharp object like a needle, because these are little holes to get into, and that's the mode. So I have to push in on that. Like down here it says use. It'll change from use to learn, and you to program the macros, and you do that. And also if you have multiple, like your home setup, if you have more than one of these remotes you want to use, you can actually clone the entire remote onto another one. So for home theater enthusiasts, you know, like I said, even though it's obsolete and doesn't have the newer buttons, you know, you can use this and just have to substitute your older and use them for different things. But I have loved this from day one. I still love it. Again, the downside is I can't use it with Roku or the Fire Stick, but this gets a lot of use. And of course on the back it has the compartment for the 4 AA batteries. And of course the sticker is about shot. It also has a light. This on the side will actually illuminate the screen and all the buttons green, so if it's dark. And another really nice thing about the memory is that it actually will keep the memory when you change your batteries. I don't remember the cutoff of how long that lasts, or if it doesn't have power for a certain amount of time, then you have to reprogram everything. I'm not sure what that cutoff is, but I've never had to reprogram this except for when I get new components. I change the batteries, it remembers it, put the new batteries in, put it back to use, and voila, it's done. It never dies completely. There's a low battery indicator here. That'll let you know way ahead of. Sometimes that low light will come on. I'll use it for a couple weeks before changing batteries. So it's nothing to worry about as far as completely dying on you. It'll let you know way ahead of time. There is another version of this one that came out. It was RC-2000 MK2. It was basically they kind of rearranged some of the buttons, had some different functions. I've heard pros and cons about, comparing the two of them. This is the only one I've ever had. I have never used another universal remote since I've had this one. I did have another learning remote right before this. It was a Rotel, had a touch screen. It was pretty cool, but it was very limited on the functions. This does so much. That pretty much does it, to show you off. I know it's, it's an obsolete piece of equipment that, is not, you can probably get on eBay now. You'd have to decide if you want something like this or not, but I'm not trying to sell it, just trying to showcase what I have. Like I said, I really enjoyed this ever since I've got it, and I still enjoy it. So I hope you've enjoyed this video of me showing off my fancy remote control. So please check out my other videos and like and subscribe and turn your bell notifications on. And we'll see you again. Geek out!